Tonight on the Fanatic Forum, my guest and I are going to delve into the world of underappreciated graphic novels. Because, there's hundreds of thousands of comics out there. Some are great, some are not so great, and some just kind of get left in the dust that should be great. We're going to explore some of those right after this. Happy Friday and welcome to the Fanatic Forum. I'm your Fanatic and host, George Buehler. Hope everybody's having a wonderful week so far, and it's promising to be a good weekend here. Lots of local events going on. I know we've got Thunder over Louisville in the Louisville area, which kind of kicks off the Derby weekend or the Derby celebration. So I hope that's everything goes well there. It's lots of fireworks, lots of people, and I won't be there. No, I'll be actually working in the comic shop all day. So there you go. I got a good excuse. Anywho, so we are going to be talking on the Fanatic Forum today about underappreciated graphic novels. So like I said at the top of the show, there's hundreds of thousands of comics out there. Some, basically are, known classics. Some get, they're best left unsaid. But there's a lot of stuff that kind of gets left in the dust. That basically, you get small amounts of fans that you discover them and love them, but maybe they need to be known by the general public as well here. So that's what myself and my guest are going to be delving into. Of course, a lot of other geek topics as well, but let's bring on my guest here, my brother from another mother, my better half here, the Jr Fanatic Seth Moore. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm great, man. Yeah.
Are you sure that you don't miss going to Thunder over Louisville and standing there for like 15 solid hours? Like
15. It was more like 27.
Oh, okay. Yeah, still even better. I know you miss it.
Yeah, well, let's see. I had the displeasure of working 3 of those events for the TV station I used to work for. So it's a lot of work. Of course, it's a lot of work the week of too, because there's some setup stuff that kind of goes on. But yeah, I was only involved in the day of stuff, and yeah, that was like I think the quickest. The fastest day we had of those 3 days was a 26-hour day. So, I mean, basically, we showed up at like, 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, and we left, shortly before that on Sunday. And
I can't even imagine. Thunder over Louisville is just such a nightmare anyway. Typically, people that live in the area, like they don't go. It's everybody else that's new to the area, or they have kids that have never seen it. Most rational people are like, you've seen one fireworks show, you've seen them all. We hate that you shut down half the city for this 3 days before the event actually happens.
Yeah.
And then there's going to spend this whole great day where all the animals in the area and all your pets are going to be terrified because the sky is just coming to fall and kill them.
Yeah,
and
you got the air show and the trial runs they do before the day of, and then the fireworks themselves the night of, and it's great. So yeah, I feel for all the pet owners out there. So
yeah, we've been getting some of the flyby already, like last night or earlier today and last night a little bit, and yeah, both the dogs are like, "What is going on?" Yeah.
Well, hope everybody keeps their fur babies, safe and tight and everything. Man, I saw this thing online one time. They're called like thunder houses, and it's supposed to be like an indoor dog house, but it's like everything's really like soundproofed almost, so they still have a hole they can kind of get in and out like they normally would, but they can go in and block out a lot of the sound and the noise and stuff like that. So it's
that is cool.
Yeah, it was like the dog they were testing this on or showing the video for was like a golden retriever, full size retriever. So they obviously make it for larger dogs. But
Yeah,
yeah, but it was like comfy inside and everything like that. But supposedly it was supposed to be a thing you can have for if you got a noisy area or for a dog that's got prone to anxiety, you can put it in there and you can go in there and hide out a little bit, but
that
still
is super cool.
see what's going on and be connected to the family, not feel like it's put away in another room where it's outside of everybody. So
Right.
yeah. And let's see here. Oh, hang on. Ryan Permisson has got some comments here, so let's see what he's got to say. Good sir. This is what a great time to be a fan with Star Wars, Star Trek, and Power Rangers, all celebrating new chapters. So I guess he will, of course, talking about the finale for the Mandalorian, the season finale for Mandalorian was just this week, which was amazing. This season is probably its best so far. Uh,
I'm still working on the first season slowly but surely, but I'll make it there eventually.
Well, you got some cool stuff in your seasons there, but third season was probably we're getting like in like Marvel kind of like economical writing, where it's like there's not a wasted episode in the third season. A lot of stuff happens, a lot of cool stuff happens. So, and it also kind of makes you think like it's the end of the show, but it isn't. So, because there's another season and a movie coming at least for Mandalorian. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so there's a lot of stuff. But yeah, lots of Star Trek stuff. I'm not up on what's going on with that. And then Power Rangers, I know they've got the reunion movie over on Netflix. So yeah, all kinds
Yeah,
of
I
cool stuff
think
there.
I want to say Picard, either the third season wrapped up or Discovery finished. One of the
Picard's
two.
Discovery's about to wrap up, and Picard is in its final season, I believe, or
Okay.
already ended. So, but
Okay.
there's talk about some already some spin-offs and stuff like that. And I think I even think I read somewhere that somehow Lower Decks is going to be incorporated into this season of Discovery. So, but I thought Lower Decks was an animated series. So unless the
Yeah.
characters are going to be turned into live action, or there's going to be an animated episode of Discovery, I don't know.
Well, I mean, it could happen. It's not the first time Star Trek's done that. So, and I just wanted when Strange New Worlds comes back. That's my Star Trek jam. So, right now,
Yeah.
but
Oh, that's
yeah.
no, that's what it is. With Strange New Worlds is going to have Lower Decks involved. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. Okay.
My
Hmm.
bad, not Discovery. Anywho, so yeah, like I said, I don't have Paramount Plus, so I got a trial for a little bit, so I was able to binge the first season of Beavis and Butthead because that was my priority.
Oh, absolutely. Tell me you watch Beavis and Butthead do the universe.
Not yet, not yet.
Oh,
I've only just binged the first season, so I haven't seen
yeah,
the
yeah. You
universe
have
yet.
to watch that movie. That movie is probably one of the funniest things I've seen in the past 3 years.
Awesome, and I know season two is either about to come out or already out.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh,
I'm
and
there. It's Beavis and Butthead. I'm there.
yeah, and tonight actually works out because we have Old Man Rampage tomorrow. Because
Is it? I thought it was at 10.
I think it's at 10 to it's 10 Saturday. I could be
Yeah,
wrong. Like,
yeah, it is. Yeah, but yeah, it's still not quite old man times, but it is on a Saturday,
well,
so that means
yeah,
we
it's
can take a
better than on
nap.
a Saturday. Well, I was
Yeah,
thinking though, but tonight is actually the new season premiere of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs.
that's right.
Yeah, starting in about an hour and 50 minutes. So,
Oh, nice. Do you know
yeah.
what's on the docket for tonight?
No, no, they usually don't announce it ahead of time. He might give like hints from time to time, but and sometimes you kind of know, like when he's like, it's Halloween and we're gonna do the two most requested Halloween movies that you know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, sometimes you can tell by the guests that he's gonna have, but yeah, I don't know yet, but
Yeah, I know he's got a handful of guests that have been announced this season so far, so he's got some fun
yeah.
people there. So, yeah, anytime I'm watching Last Drive In, Michelle likes Joe Bob and likes his stories. She always has comments about Darcy and her appearance.
Oh, I love Darcy though. Darcy's my girl.
Oh, I mean, it's not so much the clothing or anything; it's all the like the Botox and stuff and the lip
Yeah.
injections she's had. So it's like she thinks that she doesn't need all that sort of stuff. But I'm like,
Yeah, she
it's
totally. I mean, she definitely does not. But I mean, that's just that's part of her thing. Like
that's part of her thing. Yeah, it's me.
yeah,
I love her because she's a horror geek, and she's has huge tracts of land.
yeah.
So
Yeah, yes, she does. It's the people that Joe Bob surround himself with are all interesting in various ways. They're never quite who they appear to be. He's not even who he really appears to be.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like he wrote an entire book under his real name about cell phone satellite signals and how different like companies were monetizing them over the way. It was a very bizarre thing for him to write, but very interesting.
Yeah, it's
But
like it wasn't a conspiracy book or anything. It's all factual stuff
yeah, it
here,
wasn't
and
about
it's
movies or anything. It was like
yeah, it's like this is
yeah.
a real thing that happens, and
The guy that likes Blood Feast wrote that. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, Danhausen's supposed to be a guest this season.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
yeah, yeah. It's Danhausen. There was some one of the drag stars from Drag Race. I can't remember her name too. She's got a great stage name. I can't remember what it was, but
Is it the
anyway,
one that I've seen everywhere now? Like this, they're all over the place. Like if you're
not the
talking about that show, that
not the Beaujolais brothers. No,
oh, okay,
uh,
okay,
it's only one drag queen, but I can't remember
okay,
what her name is. But no, not the Beaujolais brothers are all over Shutter.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, they've got their own show. They've been on Joe Bob before, and uh, you know, I think I'm not even sure they've got a movie they did or were in or something. Anyway,
yeah. There was some kind of series, and I'm gonna kind of weird myself out here because I always thought that they're named to me sounded similar to the guys that did the special effects in Critters and Killer Clowns from Outer Space because they're like the something brothers. So I thought that it was like, oh, that is awesome. These guys are the special effects people.
they were children when those movies came out, probably.
Yeah,
So because yeah, they're young guys. Yeah. Oh, that's good. I love it.
the Chibota brothers. That's yeah. That's
Chibota.
the
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I love. I haven't seen. I don't know. God, I haven't seen any of the Critters sequels, but I love the original.
Yeah, the original's great, man. Back whenever I was doing the horror cons and everything, and like run around, you run around with like you run into the same people a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
on
Yep.
message boards. There's this one dude. I think to this day he still like lives, sleeps, eats, and breathes critters. Because I'll go onto a DVD forum and there'll be like his username, and it's like he's got a critters tattoo.
Oh my
Like he
god.
went to a convention one time with pneumonia to meet Mick Garrison or Mick
Jeez.
Garris, excuse me,
Yeah.
because he directed like Critters 4 or something. I mean, that was his thing, and it was like, all right, buddy,
Mm,
I don't get it,
mm.
but you do you.
Oh Lord. So hey, we got to talk about some comics today here.
Yes, we
So
do.
yes, we do. But I've got a couple of new things here I want to share with y'all here. So I'm going to put myself in solo here. Um, but officially, of course, we already got our advanced copies. But officially, the Codename Ric Flair book has come out here. 3 covers were released to the general public before you start getting into the higher priced variants. So naturally, I had to get this one here. But then this is the A cover right here. So
And they are a they are that is a fantastic book. I finally did get around to reading my copy, and
yeah,
yeah, it was
I
love it.
love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely love it. So, and then a new independent from CEX Publishing, 7 Years in Darkness by Joseph Schmalke. This is a really cool book here. The cover is very indicative of the art inside, very dark and creepy. But the whole premise is that basically there is this yearly lottery that happens. Well, not quite yearly, but some sort of lottery that happens where all these children are accepted into the school of black magic. But they have to live in 7 years of darkness. And at the end of those 7 years, only 7 children will A, be graduated and B, alive. And these, like, I think they start with like 72. So,
oh,
yeah, so not every kid's going to make it. And as you find out in this first issue, not every kid wants to be involved with it, and some don't even know they're supposed to be involved with it. So, some interesting characters here. But I thought you'd get a kick out of this. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but CEX Publishing, they are based out of Shelbyville, Kentucky.
I did not know that.
Yep,
That
right
is
up the Gene.
cool though.
Yeah, right up the Gene Snyder. They've also got an art academy as well as their publishing thing there. So, yeah, there you go.
That is awesome.
And apparently, they're one of the largest like online art academies in the country. So I think I need to explore a little bit, but there's to have a future guest here on the forum.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I'd be
uh,
interested just to learn more about it.
yeah, no kidding. Next up, a couple of Marvel reads here. Amazing Spider-Man number 24. Since issue 21, they've started basically this whole current run of Amazing Spider-Man that's dubbed by Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr. has been start off with like Peter and MJ aren't together anymore. There was a lot of mystery going on of like things Peter did that were seen as controversial or maybe even close to like, you know, crossing the line. Also, for whatever reason, Mary Jane has two children, a boy and a girl. So lots of questions like what in the heck is going on here? But they literally after the first couple of issues, they don't go any more into that storyline until finally issue 21 they start that storyline. And each issue gets better and better. It's one of the best Spider-Man stories I've ever read.
Dang.
It is so good. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, like start with issue 21 and keep on going. 24 is the new one, just came out this week here. Apparently, we've got a couple, of course, there's 25 and 26 are still in the storyline. Apparently, after 26 gets out, Marvel wants Zeb Wells to take a break from doing conventions because, quote unquote, the fans may hate me. So, in 2 months, we may have words with Zeb Wells here. So
Yeah.
we'll see what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm not a huge Spider-Man mark, but good God, this is good reading. So, and last but not least here, shed a tear because this Avengers Assemble Omega is the final issue of the Jason Aaron run of Avengers. This wraps up his multiversal Avengers epic, and I do mean epic story. Yeah, kind of gives us not so much a glimpse in the future, but kind of gives us a conclusion to everything, wraps up things in a nice new bow, possibly gives us leads to future storylines, maybe if someone wants to go down those routes or if Jason Aaron somehow returns to Avengers in some way, shape, or form. But yeah. And then, of course, it kicks us off for the next run that Jed McKay is actually writing. So, old Jed, man, he's started out doing Black Cats a few years back and has just moved up and up and up because, I mean, he made Black Cat a superstar fantastic title. So, who'd have thought? But
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So yeah, he just keeps moving on up. He's been he was doing Strange for that. He did the whole Death of Doctor Strange storyline, and then basically Clea took over the role of Sorcerer Supreme for a little bit while Strange was dead for a few months, and then he got better, and so now the husband and wife are tag teaming the occult world, and there you go. But yeah, so
Okay.
he's got all kinds of good stuff. So I'm excited about his storyline that he's got coming up. And of course, his new team of Avengers is very kind of classic. We've got Thor, Carol Danvers, Sam Wilson as Captain America. You got Iron Man, Vision, and I'm trying to think who the sixth member is. I can't remember. Yeah, but there's six members on the team, and it's like with the exception of Sam Wilson in the Captain America role, it's very classic Avengers team. So
Okay.
yeah, maybe it is Wanda. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it is. Maybe Wanda's on the team too. Anyway, but yeah, but it's kind of nice. It's interesting that Steve's not on the team, but Sam is. So I don't know whether that's kind of anything coming from the Jason Aaron run or kind of what's going on in the Captain America books right now. So that remains to be seen. We got a comment here from Bill Doris. We want Seth Moore. Well,
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Oh, hang on. Let me get yeah, let me reveal Seth here because I was talking about my comics and I forgot to bring you back on here. So there he is, Bill. There he is. Simmer down, Bill.
Bill is one
All
of my
right.
biggest cheerleaders. I love you,
He
buddy.
sure is. Bill's a mensch, too. We love the guy. All right. We're going to take ourselves a brief station break here for Comic Books for Kids. And then we come back. It's show and tell time here. We're going to discuss underappreciated graphic novels. We've geeked out enough here, so let's get down to business.
Let's do it.
There, be right back.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.
All right, and we are back. So, I will get you on here first, and you are up, sir, with your first selection.
Okay, well, my first selection. Let me give you a little preamble before I
Okay.
get into it. I am a big fan of the '80s black and white comic indie boom that leads
Mm-hmm.
into the or not '80s so much, but like the '90s, like stuff like Milk and Cheese, Madman, before Mike Allred started to color it. Those the original Teenage Mutant Ninja stuff like that. Maybe
Oh
not.
yeah.
It's not always '80s and '90s, but it bleeds into it. But one of my
Sure.
absolute favorite series, and it's a collection, Scud the Disposable Assassin.
Yay.
And yeah, it is by a gentleman named Rob Schrab, who, if you have not heard the name, you've probably seen something that he has been involved in,
Mm-hmm.
given like off of Adult Swim, like the Heat Vision and Jack pilot with Jack Black, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, he was involved in that. He's buddies with Dan Harmon, the Community people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's all that kind of thing. But this Scud was, Rob Schrab's big thing, and it was in the early '90s, uh, black and white. Or well, yeah, I've already covered that part. But independent comic published by Fireman's Press, I believe at the time. Image picked it up later. But the premise of it is it's sometime in the future, let's say next Sunday AD kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you are in a society where you can, just buy an assassin out of a vending machine. And the assassin is programmed with a target, and upon termination of the target, it it blows itself up. It served its purpose, so it's no longer needed. Well, the problem that happens with that is whenever you buy one of these and then they are aware that they're going to explode after they kill their target, what happens when one of them doesn't want to die? And that one is Scud specifically. He is chasing his target or he's chasing his target. He realizes that he can't kill his target, so he instead maims it brutally and still manages to keep it alive. And it's this weird creature kind of thing. Like the names, a lot of the characters too are kind of plays too, and they're more fun if you experience them, like
Mm-hmm.
instead of just saying random nonsense words, like if you're not familiar with the series that they will be. But yeah, he keeps his target alive. He has to keep taking assassination missions to pay the hospital bills, or else they will pull the plug and Scud will go bye-bye. That's the caveat. And along the way, there's many different interesting characters. Lacosta Nostra is Lacosta Nostroid or Nostril, depending on who's several variations of it in the book. The Mafia, Scud works for them for a bit,
Yeah.
makes friends, which is actually a spin-off series that Dan Harmon wrote at the same time, that was published by the same company. But that one never actually got finished.
Hmm.
What makes Scud actually interesting is because it was one of the famous works in comicdom that did not get finished for the longest time. It was Rob Schrab had basically wrote and produced this sleeper hit that became huge in the time, and when just about anybody who's published an indie comic, like the Ninja Turtles guys did Eastman and Laird whenever they were doing Mirage. Eventually, they had to jump ship and start working with a publisher so that they could do licensing and stuff like that. Uh, some of these guys just keep working themselves out to they're burnt to a crisp, and Rob Schrab was one of them. Whenever he did issue 21 ends on the biggest bummer of a cliffhanger. And then finally, I think it was 10 years later, he comes back to finish the story with 3 extra issues, and that's where this collection comes from. Uh, but it's weirdly dark. It's very funny. Scud actually, like, one of my favorite things about Scud is he has random one-liners that never actually make any sense. Like "baked you a cake" is one of his coup de grace send-off lines. Like it's supposed to be like an "hasta la vista, baby," or something like that. At one point, he actually loses his arm and has to send it off to get repaired, and he gets a loaner arm that looks like a human arm, but then the full moon happens and something kind of weird, happens after that. you know, but it's just all these little weird little misadventures, and then his buddy Drywall, is his buddy's is Drywall. That's one of the
Nice.
characters' name. Uh, but yeah, it's yeah, no one ever talks about this anymore. It felt like it was a hit for, however long Rob Schrab was originally writing it, and then it came back for a hot minute, and then after it was done, no one ever talks about it in like the annals of indie, of great indie comics. And I feel like that is a travesty.
Yeah, I seem to remember there was a video game too in the late '90s.
Oh, the video game is actually the source of its own set of controversy too. I was actually just going to kind of flip through and
Oh yeah,
show
yeah.
some
Go
of the
ahead. Yeah.
artwork too. But
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
very kind of avant-garde, weird kind of Adult Swim, like MTV Liquid Television kind of vibe,
Hmm.
like very much in line with that stuff. But very interesting but yeah. But the video game, I believe it came out for the Sega Saturn, but it
Yep.
was abysmally bad. And it was one of those things that was so bad that the way that I understand the story, and I could be totally wrong about it, is that Rob Schrab actually threatened to take legal action to get it to be stopped, or to have it stopped being produced, because he was afraid it was going to tarnish the name of Scud. And yeah, it's also one of those things too that's been in kind of a weird media limbo. At one point in time, I think Oliver Stone was going to write a movie about it, or he'd option the rights for him.
Oh my God.
uh yeah, it's changed hands a couple of times, but yeah, it's one of those properties that it's every once in a while you'll hear like rumblings of like they might be doing something different with Scud, and then nothing ever comes of it. But they we need that though. We need the awareness. It actually took Image like 5 years to reprint that trade paperback. I had to order this one off of eBay and pay probably 3 times the cover price for it, because I didn't know if it was coming back into print. And finally it did
Jeez.
with a different cover. But yeah, that was yeah. Scud is an underappreciated gem. Read it, people.
Yes, I would agree. Scud is hilarious. It's the humor. There is a lot of very '90s humor in it too, but it's a very
Yeah.
anti-establishment kind of stuff. So yeah, just really really good. Highly recommend that too.
Oh yeah.
I'm with you. Ryan's got a couple of his recommendations here. He's full on in the first 2 volumes of the Daring New Adventures of Supergirl by Paul Kupperberg.
Okay.
So those were really good, underappreciated run of Supergirl. And then God Country, Donny Cates, yes. Uh, Literally, that's the book he wrote to get over the passing of his father. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's basically about a sword that is the god of swords, and it kind of picks its user. And basically, this guy has his father that apparently formerly wielded the sword, and then the son is gonna have it, but the son doesn't know anything about all this stuff and whatever else. And the sword is basically, think like Cloud's sword in Final Fantasy VII, like this giant blade. There's no way any normal person could wield this sort of thing. That kind of thing. But again, this sword is the god of swords, and it talks. But yeah,
Okay. So
yep,
it's got a
a
little
little,
bit of the Stormbringer from
yeah,
Elric in it. Yeah.
yeah, a little bit of that too. Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, it's like I said, yeah, decent fantasy series there. So also says the Smallville graphic novels are good. So there you go. But yeah, I've
I've
definitely read
heard a
God.
lot about the Smallville graphic novels being particularly good. It's not the first time I've heard that, so that doesn't surprise me. They sound kind of interesting too, because eventually, like Clark meets up with Batman, and or they call him the detective, because they still kind of keep
Yeah,
like with the whole Smallville, like not directly referencing things, but you know who they are, sort of
yeah.
deals.
I don't know, those the one thing I felt was kind of, because I wasn't like huge into Smallville when it was originally out, and I've kind of delved into it a little bit, and I appreciate more the later seasons when you finally start getting, Clark's out in the world. He's not Superman yet, but he's meeting up with the
Yeah.
other heroes and stuff like that. So I like that a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I think Smallville was starting to work for me, because at the time we were just had such a hard drought of good Superman content. And then just like this interesting idea of, Clark's teenage years growing up. Because, I mean, I remember even in the second season, whenever they did the big Krypton reveal, because they waited so long to even bring up the name of the planet.
Oh yeah.
And Christopher Reeves explaining it to him. And like, yeah, it was some good stuff. Like, there were moments that was when the WB network was doing things right.
Yeah.
They didn't always nail it, but they did sometimes.
Oh, and now of course they're gone, and CW is almost gone. It's about to be gone.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, of course, another company bought them, but whatever the identity it's going to pick, and whatever
Yeah.
shows they have on, it's not like it used to be. So,
No.
RIP Arrowverse. So,
I know, man. It was just thinking about that, like, and especially too, like, we both kind of tapered off of it towards the end too, like,
yeah,
because it starts off so strong, and I remember being so excited for so much of it, and then just they were like, okay, and then I realized I was watching it just because I felt like I was obligated to, like,
I
it
know,
was,
right?
yeah,
I felt the same way too. Yeah, like we got to
yeah,
keep it going some way. Yeah, I think after Crisis on Infinite Earths, they couldn't top what we got
yeah,
next, and that was literally the peak, and then it was like a very steep drop off after that.
yeah, yeah, because
Um,
especially for how ambitious that was for television, gosh,
I know, yeah,
yeah,
it's I think it's still to this day. I was like, I can't believe they're doing this for TV. And
yeah,
I mean, it was a little truncated, but they got it for the most part, and that's the
yeah.
CW world. So
And especially the cameos, they were able to nail it. Like, I forget that they like wrapped Doom Patrol into that, the
well,
series, and
the Stargirl series, and
yeah, the '89
Ezra,
Batman movie.
yeah, Ezra
Robert Wolf.
Miller,
Yeah,
and then that was we got to see Kevin Conroy on the screen
oh
playing Bruce
yeah,
Wayne.
yeah, his old, like, crazy, crazy, crazy Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like just regular, like, I'm dressing like a bat and beating up criminals crazy, but like, yeah,
I'm in the late stages of my year wearing a metal exoskeleton suit because I can't move my body because I've ravaged it over the years.
yeah,
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah,
All right. So for my first pick
yeah.
here,
I'm sorry.
uh, oh no, we're sitting here geeking out as we normally do here. So I have got Rick Remender's Black Science here. Mateo
Yes.
Scalera does the interior art. Dean White does the coloring on here. This before we got into all the crazy multiversal stuff here. This is really, in my opinion, what kind of should have kicked things off, because this one you're not dealing with superheroes, but you are dealing with alternate universes and whatever else. I will read the back of the trade here for you, because it'll do a better job explaining things than I will here. So, Grant McKay, leader of the Anarchist League of Scientists, off to a good start there, has finally done the impossible. He has deciphered black science and punched through the barriers of reality with his creation, the Pillar. But something went wrong, and now Grant and his team are lost, barreling through the boundless expanses of the Eververse, living ghosts shipwrecked on an infinite ocean of alien worlds. The only way is forward. The only question is, how far are they willing to go to get home again? So,
Yes.
yeah, well done description there. But yeah, basically, Rick's not Rick here. Grant's team here includes his wife, his two children, his scientific partner, his business partner, and a couple other scientists. And uh, things get dramatic quick because the family gets split up. There is a bit of a heel turn from part of the team, and some other betrayals along throughout the series here. And we get some wild issues through some of these different, alternate universes, different realms, and whatever else. And of course, this symbol here, the symbol for black science, kind of represents the onion essentially, and the multitude of layers, and you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into it. There's more and more layers of things. So so that's kind of a bit of what that references.
Yeah.
But there was a total of 43 issues in the series. I think it originally started in 2013. Let's see. Let me get the old. Yeah, 2013 is when it originally started, and from in November 2013 and ran until September 2019. So
That's right.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, there are a total of 9 volumes of just the little trade paperbacks here that have the first 6 issues. Or Image is about to also release a new compendium New printing here in about a few weeks, I think. That's the
Oh,
entire
nice.
series in one. It's the entire series in one volume. So
It's like one of those like what they're doing with like Spawn and Saga and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
but yeah,
yeah. Snag me one of them because yeah, I need that. I've got like the first two trades, but I haven't got the rest of it. But yeah, I
oh,
love Black Science.
I may have to order those because I'm
Okay.
not sure if Tommy has ordered them or not. So I will look to see. But if I will order because I'm gonna because I've got the first few trades myself. I've read all the way up through volume 6, but
Yeah.
no, sorry, volume 7. So I haven't finished the last two, essentially the last 12 issues of the series. But yeah, there's some wild stuff going on because there's
Yeah.
one later on. They basically come upon this alien world where essentially kind of like this, it's kind of like an invasion of the body snatchers sort of thing, but it's basically done with like these little like almost like they look like fire spirits almost, but basically they inhabit you and turn you to them in kind of like a hive mind sort of thing. The only problem is they spread incredibly fast. Like basically they could take over a planet in a matter of hours
Yeah.
if they're allowed to spread, sort of thing like that. And so there's a couple of times where Grant and his crew stumble on them and barely escape. And then there's a point in the book where basically those things reach Earth. And so it's like, ah! So, yeah, so there's tons of other really cool stuff in there. Like I said, just you know, they get into some alien world, some alternate dimensions, sort of things like that. But they've got just let me show you some of the art from this here. But just the Matteo Scalera's art is just fantastic.
Oh yeah.
So, and then let me see if I can find a really good kind of like weirdness here because there you go. There's a little example of some of that there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Black Science always felt good and pulpy to me, like just with that,
Yes.
pick up like that dime store paperback and the writer just did a line of coke and wrote, like the weirdest story that they could. And yeah, another way that I've heard it described was Lost in Space in Hell. If
Yes. Yeah.
if that was, a way to do it. But
Yeah, that's because much like you said, yeah, it does feel very pulpy. Like again, these aren't superheroes; these are scientists.
yeah.
So that's very much a human sort of thing, and people are there's lots of peril and danger, and we lose people throughout the series and all sorts of stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
there's some very cool stuff. Ryan's got another pick here. The Shadow, the Death of Margot Lane. There you
Man,
go.
I need to get into those Shadow comics that they're releasing more and more because I'm hearing a lot of good stuff about those.
Yeah, and some of the
Yeah.
DC stuff was fun, but Garth Ennis's run on the Shadow for Dynamite was really killer.
Yeah, I've read
Um,
some of that stuff, and I'm. Does Dynamite still have the Shadow? Or
uh, I don't think anybody's doing any Shadow books right now,
yeah,
so I
I
don't
know
know. I
there
don't
was a
know.
long time. Yeah, Dynamite was doing a bunch with like public domain characters and like Green Hornet. That I know a lot of their Green Hornet was really good too. I read a
Yeah,
good bit of that.
yeah, and they did a
Uh,
crossover series called Masks. They did 2 volumes of that, where you
yeah,
had all the pulp characters crossing over. I mean, you had Green Hornet, the Shadow, Zorro, the Spider,
yeah.
Miss Fury. The list goes on and on. So.
That reminds me, I need to find there's some kind of a game mod for one of those old CRPGs that they took like all the old pulp characters with and like remade it so like they're your party. Like you like have the Shadow and the Spider and the Tarantula. Yeah, it's like yeah, I need
Dude.
to look into that because that sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, throw in like a Flash Gordon or Doc Samson, we're good to go,
Oh yeah,
man. Or the Phantom. There you go. Yeah. All
yeah.
right. Your turn for your next book, sir.
All right. So for my next, it's going to have two volumes here, but this is a little bit it's underappreciated in the United States. In Italy and several other countries, it is a pretty big deal. But there have been a couple of attempts in the States to bring it around. If you've seen the movie Cemetery Man, you have seen a spin-off of that media. But it originally started as Dylan Dog, the Italian nightmare detective. And
Nice.
yeah, so Dylan Dog's thing is, well, first of all, to understand, if you know anything about Italy, be it like through their movies or how they handle books or anything, they love to liberally borrow from other media.
Yeah.
And so in that, but that's how we have things like the spaghetti western genre, how they stole blatantly from the samurai films or things like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Oh yeah.
This is the comic book version of that, except that this is imagine the horror movie style of the Italians blended into a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of that. And now these things over in Italy too are like 96 pages and they come out a month too. So it's like a very large story. But
Good Lord.
oh, can't show that. That's got some not safe for work artwork. But yeah, so stuff like that, very black and white, very pulpy stuff, but still
Uh-huh.
very entertaining stuff. But the first issue is actually almost a complete ripoff of Night of the Living Dead. And they make no bones about that, but it's done in that very Italian style where there's very fluid dialogue, there's very brutal violence, it's very weird and ethereal at times. And what makes this so good is it's gone for like 300 some odd issues now. But what makes it so good is that Dylan Dog is one of those characters that, because of the setting of him like having a detective agency and going to investigate supernatural things, that the stories can be all kinds of weird things. So you've got like he fights vampires in one story, or goes to a haunted wax museum, or and it's the Italian spin on that.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are better than others, arguably. But the thing is, they're huge in America, or they're huge in Italy, but not so much in America. And Dark Horse, the 7 volumes that they put out here, the 7 different stories, were individually released, I believe, around the time of the original, or of the Dylan Dog movie with Brandon Routh. It was just awful. Yeah, if that's your exposure to Dylan Dog, just forget it, because he looked like
Okay.
him, but it wasn't the character. Cemetery Man is probably a little closer to what you can kind of expect, but that still didn't even have the character in it. But one of the issues too is that since he's a detective, he also has a helper, and his helper is a guy named Groucho, who looks like Groucho Marx. And it is heavily implied that it actually is Groucho Marx in the original Italian comics. And again, that goes with Italy not having such a care for copyright, or like likeness infringement or things like that. It is kind of a problem in America. So in the case of the Dark Horse book, they had to actually change the art and remove Groucho's mustache and call him Felix. So there's that, and it kind of changes things a little bit. Some stories are so weird and heavily involved into the idea that this character was Groucho Marx that they can't even come out over here.
Oh
And there's
wow.
several, yeah, there's several stories that are like that. They're just like such blatant, like they're borderline plagiarism, if not actual plagiarism. But there is one company though that is starting to release. Well, they've released several current Dylan Dogs, and there is a company called Epicenter Comics, and they make these very beautiful editions, like square bound, single editions of like 4 Dylan Dog stories. Right now, they've colored them and added new artwork to the cover. Like there's like 3 different covers that you can get for it. This particular one, The Long Goodbye, is my favorite, just because
Yeah, that's
it's not.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's in the story inside too is like it's amazing. It's more of a grounded Dylan Dog story,
Mm-hmm.
and it does kind of play into the continuity of like and Dylan Dog's whole thing too is like his girlfriend that he was going to marry, like she dies, and this was some of their like this is him coping with that and dealing with that, and like thinking very ethereal and supernatural ways with it. Um, that is that's the third one. The fourth one that they just released, that was their newest release 4 years ago. That they Epicenter Comics really needs to release more Dylan Dog. They are still publishing Italian comics, but they're the Western
Mm-hmm.
comics, and we've got plenty of those. But I want more Dylan Dog.
Yeah,
Uh,
no kidding. Yeah,
but yeah, the oh, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the fourth one is probably the fourth one is one called Chess of Death, which is kind of a bad translation of the title anyway, and probably
Yeah.
one of the weaker Dylan Dog stories. Like to me, like I don't know why they picked that one to be like, if you're picking like a series of Dylan Dogs, the first 2 are fantastic, because they kind of tie together with like this character that's a legacy character of Dylan Dogs that which kind of doesn't make sense unless you have some kind of context to Dylan Dog. But anyway, as a fan, it was nice that it was there.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, but their selection of what Dylan Dog stories they publish are kind of questionable, since there's only 4, and one of them is the absolute standout.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Dylan Dog needs more appreciation in America for what we can get out of it. And Yeah, a lot of those Italian comics from Benelli Comics need that kind of treatment here too, because they're all over the place over there, and they're huge hits, and they keep pumping. There's hundreds, thousands of issues of some of them, and they cover all kinds of genres: Western, science fiction,
Hmm.
romance, crime. Like it's a lot how Japanese manga is, where they've got a bunch of different genres. It's not all, just Goku and Vegeta,
Right.
super
Yeah.
kicking each other. And yeah, but it's very little love in America for the Italian comics industry.
Hmm.
And the French comic industry is actually getting a little more play too, like Blondiel's Elric stuff and that kind of thing. But, we need more Italian comics.
Yeah, I know because, of course, Alejandro Jodorowsky, the noted filmmaker, has he transitioned to comics, I guess, in the '80s and did a lot of stuff that was released in Italy and in France and whatever else, and
Yeah.
it was kind of hard to get in the States, and he's still doing a lot of stuff like he's got this whole the Incal series that he does and whatever else. That's still going on. He still does that from time to time.
Yeah.
Or there's like a whole universe that other writers have kind of piggybacked off of that. So he's kind of did like a whole multiverse using the Incal and whatever else. So yeah, I mean, there's some. You're right. There's some great foreign books out there.
Yeah.
That's not just manga. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, you're right though. When it comes to the Japanese manga, I mean, yeah, they make books are like it, that's the kind of the standard. Like everybody reads manga in Japan, but it's like there's family drama, there's romance, there's horror stuff, and there's every genre
Yeah.
you can think of.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
your grandmother could be reading a book because it's the equivalent of your grandmother at home watching her soaps.
Yeah.
But it's
Precisely. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So anywho, Ryan's got another comment here. The Shadow meets Batman series by Steve Orlando is solid. Yes, I've read that. That is really cool.
Yeah, I need to check that one out too, because that on paper that just checks all the boxes. Shadow, Batman, Steve Orlando. Like,
Yeah.
why not?
Uh, and I think it kind of insinuates that possibly the Shadow may have been involved in some of Batman's training.
Oh,
Yeah.
that
There's kind of some illusions that they make that basically like and it may have been Lamont Cranston kind of doing the typical Shadow stuff where he's disguising himself as different people. So maybe
right, right.
Batman didn't know it was the Shadow, but it actually was.
Yeah, I really like that idea. I
Yeah.
like that idea. The meta training, like I like it whenever it was the Ninja Turtles and Daredevil, like having their origin crossed. Like,
Yeah.
this just
Exactly.
makes perfect sense, especially with how the Shadow operates.
Yeah, and I keep hearing rumors that Kevin Eastman wants to do a Daredevil series. Like he wants to do a Daredevil series over at Marvel, or even do a crossover of Daredevil and the Turtles or something like that. So
Yeah.
I keep hearing that because of course
I
like the
would
new
love a Kevin Eastman Daredevil series that if it was just him that could like just go as ham as he wants to. Because
yeah.
I'm thinking like body count levels, like the Casey Jones Raphael like R-rated graphic novel of violence. Like that's what I want out of a Kevin Eastman Daredevil book. Like Daredevil
That'd
just
be
like
tight.
throwing the baton and smashing dudes' faces.
Yeah, that'd be awesome because of course they've done two volumes of Turtles teaming up with the Power Rangers. They've done two volumes of the Turtles teaming up with Batman and the Bat Family.
Right.
They're doing a crossover currently of the Turtles went back in time, so they're hanging with Usagi Yojimbo,
Yeah.
and Stan Sayaki's doing doing the story on that one because
That's another underappreciated graphic novel, by the way. Like all the
yeah,
Usagi Yojimbos. I've got a good bit of those, but yeah,
yeah, I
those are
like
all yeah.
Usagi more than I like the Turtles because I mean it's samurai stuff and it's a rabbit samurai, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And I love it. I love how that series too. It's like it's drawn in a very cartoony kind of style, but like the stories they tell are still sometimes very graphic and very
Hmm.
adult. Like
Yeah.
he's just like Usagi's just stabbing like dudes, and then like the little like rhinoceros samurai with his X's for eyes, and it's like, oh, it's cute. No, he just stabbed the dude in the chest. Like
Yeah,
there's just no
yeah.
viscera.
Right, yeah. Of course, anytime I think Usagi, though, I grew up being a Tick fan, and so I loved the Tick making fun of Ninja Turtles constantly, and then the character Paul the Samurai was
Oh
basically a
yeah,
spoof of Usagi, and he carried around his samurai sword hidden in a loaf of bread,
it is loaf of
and
French bread.
yeah,
And then yeah, and then when he unsheathed it, it couldn't be sheathed again until it tasted blood. And the next scene is him putting band-aids on his fingers where he's had to nick himself.
Yeah, and you see he's got band-aids all over his hands. So it's like
Yeah,
there's
it's not.
constantly he gets crazy. He's like, let's go. And it's like, oh,
Yeah,
there's no one to kill. Damn.
yeah. Those Tick comics too were another like of the '90s black and white stuff that I fell in love with.
Hmm.
And now what is weird is that I read those Tick comics before I read what they were actually parodying.
Me
So
too.
it was a very different experience. Like going back and reading them, they're just still hysterical. But
Hmm.
reading them without that context, they're very weird but still fun.
Yeah, I
And
know. Oh, God, I just and every now and then they'll. What's that? I can't remember the company that still does. It's not Kitchen Sink, but it's uh,
New England comics.
yeah, New England Comics. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Every now and then they'll still bust out some Tick stuff. So it's like, oh,
Yeah.
thank God. So we
Yeah.
haven't had anything really, really new, but we still get like some reprints of stuff or whatever else. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, my next book here, we're getting into the spooky stuff here. So,
Ooh.
yeah, but one of my favorite superstar teams of Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino, and of course you get Dave Stewart doing the coloring to boot. We have Gideon Falls. Twin Peaks fans, this one's right up your alley here,
Ooh.
because basically this is I wouldn't say it's an anthology book, but it's kind of like a different thing each volume. The series originally was started in 2018, ran for like 27 issues, I think. So there's 6 volumes of the trade, if you want to get the trades, or the individual issues. There's about 27 of those. The first book, though, is about the legend of the Black Barn, which is definitely heavily influenced by the Black Lodge from Twin Peaks. And I will read the back of the trade here. The legend of the Black Barn tells of an otherworldly building that has appeared and reappeared throughout history, bringing death and madness in its wake. Now its mystery ensnares and entwines the lives of 2 very different men. One, a young recluse, obsessed with finding hidden clues within the city's trash. The other, a washed up Catholic priest, finding his place in a small town that hides dark secrets. Neither of them is prepared for what's inside the Black Barn. And of course,
Ooh.
on the back there is a picture of the barn in question there. Yeah, I
Nice.
mean, it's literally this place. It pops up in the middle of nowhere. Where, like, actually, hang on, there's an opening page that. Hang on, damn it! I had it in here and I lost it. But there it is. Yeah, there you
Ooh.
go. Yeah,
I
but yeah.
like
It just
that.
anytime you get the pairing of Jeff Lemire writing and Andrea Sorrentino doing the art, it's gold. Right now over at Image, they have got their Bone Orchard Mythos universe that's had a couple different releases. They had the Passageway, the miniseries 10,000 Black Feathers, and then they've got something new coming up here, I think before the end of the year. But all their stuff is very weird, ethereal horror, whatever else. But yeah, like I say, it's a great series because like each volume deals with a different subject, and just gets creepier and creepier each time you go here. So
Nice.
yeah, but this is yeah. This is it's not your typical kind of horror stuff. So it's not a lot of blood and guts or else. Even though there is sometimes some gore depending on the story.
Right.
But yeah, it's like I said, if you like your X Files, your Twin Peaks kind of stuff, there, it's definitely right up that alley as well.
Yeah,
So
that is right up my alley. Because I had heard, of course, I've heard of Gideon Falls, but I've never actually like had a description of it or anything. That sounds awesome. Like I
yeah,
definitely need to read that one.
yeah. I've only read the first 3 volumes, so I got the other. I got to do the other 3, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Like I said, of course, I first got tuned into this team with their run on Green Arrow during the New 52, because they took over
Okay.
the second. They like I can't remember, was it Benjamin Percy started off Green Arrow at the beginning of the New 52, and he ran for about half the year, and then Lemire and Sorrentino took over, and then they're the ones who kind of reinvented the longbow hunters and had the different clans.
Okay.
Like you had the Shield clan, the Arrow clan, and the Spear clan, and all them. So yeah, they did that whole run. Yeah,
That was, yeah, because I tuned out like the New 52 like really just kind of soured me for a while. But
Hmm.
then, because Green Arrow was one of the books I was picking up whenever it first started, and I was not a fan of what was going on with it because it just didn't make any sense. Like, but yeah, like I heard that in the back half it really started to pick up, and that makes sense that it's them two that did
Yeah.
it.
Well, first thing they did was that suit that Oliver was wearing, because of course he had like the short hair and didn't have the mustache and the beard and stuff like that,
Yeah,
and was wearing like this brown and green suit. First thing they do, they ditched that suit and went back with kind of almost a longbow hunter's kind of look, where he was in a hood. He's all
yeah.
green. He's got facial hair, so it looks like Oliver Queen.
You want to
He
mistake him for Robin Hood? Yeah,
Yes, yes. This is very much a Robin Hood kind of neo Robin Hood sort of look to it. But
yeah.
yeah, that's really where I kind of noticed them. And then of course like Gideon Falls. Trying to think. God, they've done they've done numerous series together. But yeah, so anytime you see those guys on a series, you know it's good. So, and
Yeah.
more than likely, it's going to be scary because they do a lot of horror stuff together. So they've done some non-horror books before, but primarily they stick to the stuff. So, yeah,
Okay.
it's all glorious. There you go. So there's our book reports for you folks here. So yeah. So of course, we've had some people, especially Ryan, sharing all of his favorites, kind of underappreciated graphic novels. So if you guys got some more comments of other things that you guys dig that maybe you didn't hear enough people talking about, maybe you wanted to be more successful. So whatever the case may be, share it with us, and we'll talk about it next time on the chat and whatever else here.
Yeah,
So.
I'm always down for new books.
Exactly. Yeah. Have you got around to seeing the Dungeons and Dragons movie yet?
No, not yet. I have not been out to see that,
It's
but
fun.
I've heard that it's fantastic.
Yeah. Definitely, there's a lot of cool Easter eggs for old D&D fans, especially if you like your geography. There's lots of names of places you recognize.
Okay.
Uh, if you're a fan of the '80s cartoon, you get a little bit of an Easter egg in there as well. But no, like real, all the characters that are in the movie that everybody's playing, all your main protagonists and whatnot. No recognizable characters from the D&D world. These are all new characters, so to
Okay.
speak. So we all, the classes and everything else we know, and everything else is familiar. Lots of familiar creatures and things like that. Some stuff that, like, I popped for the mimic and the gelatinous cube.
The gelatinous cube.
Yes, sir.
Legendary
Dig it up.
stuff in the D&D
Yes, yes.
circles.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was very happy. Of course, we do have some dragons as well. You can't have a
Oh
Dungeons and
yeah,
Dragons
yeah, yeah.
movie without dragons. But yeah, we do have some cool dragons as well. But yes, I'm kind of hoping that this is successful enough. It's been well received from what I heard, but it's successful enough to either do adaptations of familiar stories throughout the Forgotten Realms or start just introducing known characters. Like I want Drizzt Do'Urden. I want my dark elves.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That'd be awesome.
yeah. And speaking of Dungeons and Dragons, got to make a plug here for my buddies here. So if you guys don't watch Back of the Cereal Box, you need to watch Back of the Cereal Box every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. My buddy John Pica, who is the purveyor of all things Back of the Cereal Box and the provider of the platform you see before us that we are on here right now. Nonetheless, the subject for this week's episode is the 80s Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. So, yep, there you go. I got my Hank figure right here. So, because they've actually finally released awesome figures now based on the cartoon. So, Hank, Diana, and Bobby are the line that's out right now, and the other three kids come out later. And I was telling you, I got to find out where it is, but there's an exclusive 2-pack of the Dungeon Master and Venger, but it's only like at one specific store, and I can't remember what the store is.
Uh,
So, keep on
do you ever
something
feel like
hot.
whenever do you ever feel like whenever you buy like the figures like that you're doing your like 10-year-old you a favor? Like that
Oh,
now
totally.
that
Yeah.
now that you're an adult and you're like, I can buy this crap. I don't have to beg for
Let,
permission. Well, yeah, yeah.
let me show you Exhibit A here.
Yeah, I guess it was
My,
a silly question since I was just, staring at it, yeah.
my most recent pickup that I showed you
Yeah,
here.
that thing
So,
is awesome.
got my Ghost Rider.
I'm gonna have to
So,
go and try and find that.
yeah, I picked mine up at Target. They had the E Town Target had like 5 of them. Well, 4 after I got done with it, but you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, they had them, and they're like, I mean, toys aren't they're not $8 anymore, kids.
No.
They're a little pricier. So that thing was $34, but it was worth every penny.
Yeah, I was just talking to George too before. That's how I last Ronin figure at Best Buy. That I'm still like trying to. I've talked myself out of getting it, but I was like, man, maybe I can go back. And that sucker was $35. But he had all the different hands and the weapons, and it was, he had the accessories, and I'm trying to justify the purchase right now.
Yeah. Yeah, matter of fact, when we got a bunch of toys at the comic shop, and there was different cool stuff and very limited stuff because someone sold us their collection, and I had to pick this guy up.
Oh, nice.
And see and check it out. Like, I'll bring it up in full
Yeah,
screen
yeah.
there. So these got two different hands for the Infinity Gauntlet. There's like the curled one there. There's one here that's pointing or snapping. Actually, I think he's snapping. Oh yes, it is snapping. Yes.
Yeah.
But the other cool thing is that he's got future Thanos.
Oh
right
yeah.
So there's the one with the crown, the long beard when Cosmic Ghost Rider was introduced.
Yeah. Nice.
So all kinds of geeky stuff. So back to our plug there. So yes, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time, check out Back of the Cereal Box because Johnny and crew are talking about the 80s Dungeons and Dragons show, the controversy that surrounded it that caused its early cancellation because that show should have been around for a lot longer than it was. And it literally was canceled before the final episode could air. So, and it wasn't finished, but they actually were working on it. The script was written. It was partially drawn and voiced. So it was nearly complete. And then basically CBS pulled the plug but we're working on the last episode. Nope, gone. So
Crimes against television.
Yeah. And we have a lot of housewives to blame for that. And the Parents Television Council as well.
Yeah. We'll have to do an entire episode about that.
Well, I mean, Johnny's going to do one tomorrow talking about it, so we'll have to watch
Well,
it.
I did not just the Dungeons and Dragons thing, but so much of the other stuff that was lumped into that. That'd make a really interesting pop culture episode.
Yes, it would. Yeah.
Yeah. What you weren't supposed to see or read or play or
Yeah, and of course, I love my little different pop culture. My buddy Brian Renfro, who does the Movie Meltdown podcast, which you guys should check that one out as well. Matter of fact, we've got an upcoming episode talking about the 80s exploitation classic 1990 The Bronx Warriors.
Talk about Italian cinema or Italians and their ability.
Cinema,
yeah.
Simultaneously rips off The Warriors, Escape from New York, and a little bit of Mad Max.
Oh yeah.
And somehow a little bit of a chorus line, kind of.
Yeah, it's weird how they just get weird things will happen in Italian movies that just kind of come out of left field, and you're just you're expected to just deal with it because in American movies, everything is supposed to happen for a reason, it's supposed to feed into it. In Italy, they're just we got film to burn, and we're going to do some weird crap. So
well, there's different gangs in the movie in the Bronx Warriors, and
right.
One of them literally because again, they're in New York. It's we gotta have a Broadway gang. So there's people in the gold, shiny suits and the little bowler hats and the canes, and they're doing kind of a little tap dance kind of routine there while they're beating some people up.
Yeah.
So they're beating people up to choreography, but then also their faces are painted in kind of this little bit of Road Warriors, little bit of Kiss sort of makeup because, the baseball furies.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I was like, okay, so they wanted to have the intimidating face painted gang, but instead of going with baseball with scary clown makeup, they go with basically the people who got fired from a chorus line before things went to crap in the Bronx.
Hey man, some people in showbiz, if they get fired, they get real catty. So I mean, maybe they were just really playing the long meta game on that one.
Yeah. But on Movie Meltdown, we actually did a episode where we talked about the infamous year of 1982 at the cinemas and how, looking back on the list of movies that was released that year, it's a treasure trove of 80s classics, but the majority of them failed because of one particular movie that killed everything in the box office. That Reese's Pieces, Little Lost Boy from Outer Space, E.T. Yeah.
We should just kick him back home.
Well,
hunt him back into orbit.
He killed the summer of 82, which included things like Tron, The Thing, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Yeah, just all these great 80s movies that came out that were all killed at the box office because everybody was going to see E.T. And then it was released for Christmas. So all the movies that were coming out for the Christmas season or for Oscar consideration, like Tootsie, killed because friggin' E.T.
That makes sense. Yeah.
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 So like I say, I love our pop culture moments too. But there's some things that are just interesting stories to me. But yeah, the summer of '82 will always fascinate me because just one movie dominated that entire year.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, because there's all you could just like just thinking about that, you can even think of the ramifications to see how they were such a ripple effect for such a long time.
Yeah, it really was. And that was kind of like big blockbusters that had to kind of appeal to everybody, and
Right.
a lot of big kids movies started coming out more, and then of course there was all the rip-offs of ET and all the pop culture nods of ET.
Yeah.
Meatballs 2,
Yeah.
Mac and Me.
How can we forget Mac and Me?
How could we forget Mac and Me? Come on.
I
I
wish I
mean,
could forget Mac and Me, but
I appreciate Paul Rudd for keeping Mac and Me alive in everyone's hearts.
I love the joke. It's don't get me wrong, like I love the idea of it, but the movie itself, like it's it's one of
We
those
can't.
movies that I hate the idea of the movie that's so bad that it's good anyway. That just bothers me. That that there I don't know why, but then this movie almost just offends me that it exists.
Yeah, when you're getting into like rip-off movies, and also Italian director, by the way, it was
Yeah,
an American release, but Italian director, who barely understood how things work in
yeah,
real life. But yeah,
a la
whatever.
Troll 2. Yeah,
Mm, yeah, but yeah, like I said, it's just Mac and Me is definitely is a fascinating ripoff because there's not a lot of redeeming qualities to the movie. Even if you like making fun of bad movies, like you said, it offends on every level because it's so bad. Not because like
yeah,
it's actually offensive. The movie is so bad. The choices that are made, the things that happen. I mean, even just taking the one scene that everybody knows that Paul Rudd plays anytime is on Conan O'Brien of the
right.
kid rolling down the hill, in the out of control wheelchair, falls off a cliff into a ravine full of water, and then Mac pops up to save him and whatever, sort of thing like that. But it's like
Yeah,
just the execution of that scene, and then the obvious, really bad dummy of the kid falling off the cliff into the water, where it's like, it's, mm,
yeah.
yeah.
I also
It's just,
realized too the irony of me saying that I hate the idea of the so bad that it's good movie, and I've got a Toxic Avenger poster over my shoulder.
but there is
But
redeeming quality to Toxic Avenger. There's heart to
yeah,
that movie.
yeah, the Toxic Avenger, like okay, yeah, the Trauma always Trauma knows how to make movies. They
Mm-hmm.
just do, like they've just gotten to that point where they know the rules enough to be able to break the rules,
There's still a
and
general willingness to try.
yeah, and they're making their movies to be entertaining in that Herschel Gordon Lewis kind of way, which I can
Right.
respect. Like, you want
Yep.
your movie to make money, and it needs to do X, Y, and Z to make money, and these things make money. And I
Mm-hmm.
dig that. If you can shoehorn, a narrative or a story in there that actually is good, that's fine. But this whole idea of like Birdemic, like I
Yeah.
hate the idea that people will continue to give money to this moron who wants to do something that anybody can poop out, on a minuscule budget. And I mean, I guess part of it's jealous that I didn't do it because apparently that dude is making money, and I'm not
Sure.
opposed
Yeah.
to doing that. But then the same idea. It's just so stupid.
Yeah. Like the
It's-
Sharknado stuff is pretty stupid as well.
yeah,
It's
yeah. It's
there's a certain level where a movie goes off the cliff. And when it becomes too self-aware that it's stupid and wants to lean too far, and like we know we're stupid, we're gonna get even more stupid.
yeah,
It's no. There's still like I said, you still have to have a general willingness to try and try to produce a quality film that still checks all the boxes you want, but then does some other stuff too.
yeah,
Titillates and excites it, whatever else.
yeah.
Uh, But
To me, that's why The Room works as a terrible movie, because it was tried. Like, it was a serious attempt that just went off the rails. Like, that's what makes it entertaining. Like, the whole time, like, Tommy Wiseau's not really winking and nudging at the audience like the Sharknado people are. Like, that's
no,
yeah.
he thinks he's making a quality film.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it definitely has a quality to it.
It
But,
does.
yeah,
It's kind of almost the new Rocky Horror, because when you go to a theater to see the movie, people are catcalling it. Sometimes, if the theater allows it, you can throw things at the screen like
right,
plastic spoons, you know, that sort of stuff like that. Yeah, so it's
yeah.
yeah. Speaking of Tommy, though, have you seen the teaser trailer for Big Shark?
No,
The man's
I
got a
didn't,
new movie, his follow-up movie to The Room, and the movie is called Big Shark. And you know why? You know why it's called Big Shark?
because there's a big shark.
Give the man a prize,
Well,
because there's a big shark in the movie.
well,
And it's what looks to be in the teaser is like the city, like there's a big tidal wave or some sort, and the city is getting flooded. Like maybe it's LA or something like that. They weren't
yeah.
specific. And in said wave, there's a big shark, and he's just going along eating people. And just if there's a little bit of water on the street, he can kind of like skirt his way in and gets people, and there you go. So yeah,
It's a Resident Evil shark. It's like when you're playing Resident Evil and there's just a shark that's just in the middle of a mansion. Or,
but at
I
least
love
that
it.
shark was in a tank at one point of water, and then it gets out of the water and it's flopping around and whatever else, or But yeah, no, this is a bigger shark than that, and it's eating people. Yeah, so yeah, go check out the trailer online.
I
Big
will.
Shark in
You know what?
theaters soon.
Saturday Night Live missed a hell of an opportunity here too, because it could have been just Land Shark the movie,
It
and
really could have been, yeah.
just giving it to Tommy Wiseau to do whatever he's doing with it.
And
I love.
I very briefly saw a flash of Tommy in the movie, so he is in the film.
Oh,
Um,
good. Okay.
yeah, because you can't have a Tommy Wiseau movie without Tommy actually being in the movie. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, Big Shark coming to theaters soon.
Whew. I need to check that one out. Yeah.
Get your popcorn, kids. This one's gonna be bad. Well, on that note, I think I'm going to release us back into the wild, because I'm going to have some dinner, and you got some Joe Bob to watch. So,
Yes, I do. I also got some dogs to let out too. They have been extremely good this time. So
oh, thank you, Mox. Appreciate
yeah,
it. Of course, Kenzie's always good.
she is. She's just sitting there looking at me like, I need to pee now.
Yeah, let's go, dude.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I will release you back into the wild, sir. So, thank you once again for being on the show. Always appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Always a pleasure to be here. I enjoy it quite a bit.
Absolutely. So, well, you, sir, have a good one. I guess I will talk to you tomorrow for Old Man Rampage. So,
I should be awake for it. I plan on taking a nap. So,
all right, brother. See you then. Love you.
all right. Take care. Love you.
All right, folks. Yeah, so lots of good stuff to talk about this week. So hope you guys have yourself a good week there. Go check out, we got a bunch of good geek movies out. John Wick 4 is out right now. The Dungeons and Dragons movie is out, Honor Amongst Thieves. And of course, Evil Dead Rise is out this weekend. I've heard amazing things. The trailer looks awesome. So yeah, I'm going to be checking that one out myself. So anyway, you guys have yourselves a good one, and we will see you next time on the Fanatic Forum. Bye-bye.